Hello everyone, we're back once again with our Sombra coverage live from the BlizzCon floor, trying to find a good angle to record here. It's a little bit difficult since we can't record from the screens directly, like we mentioned in the last video. These are just set up to be able to test, but we wanted to show you guys how Sombra plays, and so we're going to try and get the best angle we can. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm Disciple. I'm half of the Gaming Curios community here, and I'm the one who streams from the account if you guys have ever caught our live streams on YouTube. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about what kind of Sombra brings to the table, what she can accomplish in a match, what some of her techniques and combos are, and overall what she really brings to Overwatch. If you guys don't remember what her abilities are, if you haven't seen our last video, I would say go ahead and check it out because I talk about things more in depth. But essentially her left click is a close range submachine gun with a pretty wide spread on it, so you do actually have to get really close to deal consistent damage. Her right click is a channel that disables enemies. It hacks them so they can't use abilities for a short duration, but if you take damage while using your right click or your shift, it will cancel them. So your shift does make you invisible, but if you deal damage or take damage, then you're going to lose it, and your E will throw down a small little teleporter that you can reactivate within 15 seconds to teleport back to, and I'll show you guys some of the uses of that because it's actually an incredibly cool ability that I'm really excited about. Her ultimate is EMP, which disables all enemies, hacks them, as well as disabling barriers and shields. And then something I didn't mention in the last video is her passive, which does allow her to see enemies through walls if they are below half health. That's one of the things that it doesn't specify in the ability description. It just says critically injured enemies, but I believe we have confirmation that as long as they are under half of their health, so if a Zenyatta is under 100 or if a Reinhardt is under 250, then she'll be able to see them through the wall. So ultimately, Sombra is going to be used in a similar way to Tracer. She really can't do a lot of damage herself when you compare her to someone like Pharah or Reaper that just deal massive damage and just will continuously left click the enemies. She's more like someone like Tracer that although she doesn't have as much upfront damage, she has so much mobility and so much utility that you can, get behind the enemy line and you do have enough damage to take out, a squishy target. So one of the things that I'll do on this map, you can see me running up the stairs here. This is typically a spot where, a Junkrat might spam grenades from, or a Bastion might try and set up on the platform. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw my teleporter up there, jump down and deal as much damage as I can. See right there, I grab a kill onto Tracer, and then I go ahead and jump right back up before I take too much damage in return. And then my E is already going to be back up off of cooldown. Once again, I can jump down, deal as much damage as possible, and before my cooldown falls, you can see it goes down to 5, 4, and then I teleport right back up. And every time I'm jumping down, I'm grabbing a kill. I'm not taking too much damage. If I do, then I can run over to a health pack and of course use my right click to bring that back. That's kind of a nice way that they built in some sustain to her without actually having any healing abilities herself. But one interesting thing is that it does count towards your healing if you do use your right click on a health pack. That's the only thing I can think of, because when we see the score screen at the end of the game, it's going to show that I did do healing, but if she teleports back to her E, it's not like Tracer's Rewind where she regains her health. She stays at exactly the amount of health she was at the beginning. Right here, I go ahead and juke out a Reinhardt, use my invisibility a little bit. I still do have my teleporter pad out, so when I am a little bit afraid of the Genji, I'm just going to be able to jump right back up on the top. And I do apologize for the quality of this footage. In the future, we will be recording directly from our monitor in high quality like we always do. But we're so excited about Sombra. We wanted to make a video because I just wanted to be able to talk about her. She seems so cool. I'm not much of an offense player, but I feel like I did do very well in this game. I feel like overall I'm able to deal quite a bit of damage. If I'm onto a diva, I'm not going to be able to do that well unless I'm disabling her. If I do get the chance to hack her, that means that she can't use her shift to get away. She can't use her right click, the defense matrix, to eat our abilities. And it does leave her very vulnerable. However, getting off a full channel of your hack can be really difficult, especially against someone like Diva, anyone with a spread, because as long as one of the pellets hits you, it's going to cancel it. Now, fortunately, your hack doesn't go on cooldown, so you can go ahead and try and use it again. very soon, as opposed to when you actually do have a successful hack, it does go on a 15-second cooldown. If I don't get the numbers exactly right, please forgive me. I'm just trying to get as close as possible, as I also try to get the best camera angle possible. But overall, it's just been really fun to be able to try out on the floor. Obviously, everyone wants to try her out. There were a few kind souls that played different heroes and let us try out Sombra, and those people were very nice. But I think in this game, both teams had at least 2 Sombras, which was a little bit better than the first game we tried, where our team had 4 and the enemy team had just 1, I believe, which is not a solid team comp. Another thing I'm going to try on this map is a more offensive use of my teleporter. It is really interesting all the ways that you could potentially use it. So here I'm just going to throw it onto the platform, but you could throw it through the window, which is something I do a couple times to get right onto the point. I'm just going to duel as long as I can with the Genji, with the Tracer. You can use this to follow your enemies and just deal as much damage as possible. While staying safe, you are a little bit vulnerable since your invisibility can't be used to escape that well unless you juke out. But here, using it to chase down an opponent can be awesome because you move very, very quickly. And if you're able to do it, behind a corner, then they don't see you coming and you can surprise some enemies really, really well. I think one thing that I need to do this match a little bit better, besides just disabling enemies, is disabling health packs. The health pack that's on the other side of the moat here, if I had disabled that earlier on, just using my stealth to get over there, we probably would have been able to grab quite a few more kills. But here you can see you just make it come in so much faster, and then it does disable it for the next good amount of time. I'm not actually sure on the duration, but I would assume it's around 15 to 30 seconds that the enemies can't get it when it does come back up. But the fact that she does have a little bit of healing utility, the fact that she does have some really cool mobility, and that it's not just easy mobility like a Genji dash or a Tracer blink, the fact that there's so much thinking involved over, do I just throw my E and immediately follow it to jump up in the air and surprise my enemies? Do I throw it behind myself so I can get out of the fight after I dip in? One of my favorite techniques is to throw in your E, then shift for invisibility, and then follow the E again. And what's going to happen is you blink onto the teleporter, but you're already invisible. So if you throw that behind the enemy team, then you can completely flank them in your invisibility. And that could be an amazing way to, isolate an enemy support like a Mercy, or get behind a very difficult defense. Like if you can jump onto a Bastion, and you can, use your EMP to disable their abilities and then take him out. Like the old Bastion Reinhardt combo, that's something that Sombra can be very, very good at disabling. She also disables turrets from what I could see in the gameplay preview. No one here played Torbjorn or Symmetra, so I wasn't able to see that. But in the ability preview, when she uses her EMP, it did look like it shut down the Torbjorn turret. So if you are having trouble sieging against, some stationary defenses like Torbjorn, like Symmetra, being able to use your EMP and disable them all at once, or if there are shields that you need to break through, like a Reinhardt or a Winston even, just the fact that she can be chosen to counter such specific strategies and such specific defenses, I think is very cool. And I think that's what having a larger hero pool in Overwatch is really going to mean. It's not just, oh, I'm going to play Reaper here because they have tanks, I need to do a lot of damage, or I'm going to play Soldier because they have a far away hero, and I just need to be able to hit her, because those are all just strictly about how much damage you can do in any given situation. But with Sombra, it's about, oh, how can I use all of her abilities to counter all of my opponent's abilities? And the fact that she only has one damaging ability, the left click is fairly strong, and you can certainly kill people with it, but compared to the other offense heroes, it's quite a bit weaker. But the fact that she does have the added utility of, if you use your right click and you hack a diva and she's not able to use her defense matrix, that's essentially damage, because that's all damage that you're getting through that you wouldn't have been able to get through before. And I think that's a really, really cool possibility for picking her. And I think that it'll be very difficult to main Sombra. I do not think that she will be a good pick in every map, and I don't think that she's the kind of character that everyone's going to want to play in every given situation, although some people will certainly try. I just really think that she is a character with so much potential use and versatility and utility that when you do have a chance to play her and when you can use her effectively, she's going to be insane, and she probably has the best like specific counter mechanics of anyone in the game. Which is something that I'm really excited to see and that hopefully we'll see more of as they release more heroes in Overwatch, because I think that's one thing that might be lacking. Right now, you essentially play whichever team can do the most damage and survive as long as possible, and you know, there are some very cool synergies, especially with Ana being added in, and the fact that so many heroes have to work together now to accomplish things, but I think that Sombra is kind of the opposite, that, you know, she has to work against so many of the other heroes, but then she can accomplish so much, and that's really, really cool here. I really want to test around, see what the EMP can do. One thing I mentioned in the last video is how much I feel like it can enable your allies, so that, say, if you have a Zarya who's afraid of getting countered by a Zenyatta Transcendence or a Lucio Sound Barrier, if she can get in just before or just during that in EMP so that the enemies can't use their defensive abilities, then she can be just as good of a combo with Zarya as someone like Tracer or you know, Diva or Junkrat can be, just because, you know, as long as your team can put in the damage with your basic attacks, the enemies aren't going to be defending with their abilities, and that's really, really cool. The hack, I have to play around with a little bit more. It's not very useful in a duel because your enemy is probably going to be able to damage you at some point. But say if you're up against Genji and you can get the hack off before he deflects, then suddenly Genji's a very weak hero without his deflect and without his dash. And you know, there's a lot of potential there, and I think that a very skillful Sombra is going to be pretty rough to play against. So I hope you guys have enjoyed hearing me talk about Sombra and about our potential uses and strategies and watching some of the early Sombra footage. Thank you guys so much for hanging around the channel, for supporting us, for bringing us to 250,000 subscribers. We've been having an awesome time at BlizzCon, and we're going to bring you even more BlizzCon content, and I can't wait to see you guys later.